Mr. Ilves, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us and for being ready to answer our questions. Since our last interview, the situation in Georgia has changed dramatically. The ruling party, Georgian Dream, has effectively established a pro-Russian regime in the country and is now eradicating even the remaining traces of democracy. We'll certainly discuss your views on Georgia's current situation and what solutions you see for our country. But first, I'd like to start with Russia's recent aggressive provocations in Estonia and Poland, as well as its behavior at the UN Security Council. It's clear that Putin, on one hand, is testing NATO's response, but on the other hand, he's currently lacking both the military and economic capacity to carry out serious operations against the alliance. What is Russia's main and real goal right now?
In the past, when we would raise these things, they say, "Oh no, it's just this or this that," and I remember just 2 weeks ago. President Trump said that it was that the 20 or so drones that flew into Poland were a mistake, right? I mean, well, now I don't think people are thinking it's a mistake anymore. And so that's really what has changed, is the public sentiment, or at least the political sentiment in Europe, and I guess the United States as well, as far as I can tell, compared to what it was before. But in terms of what they're doing, it's no more brazen than it was, say, a year ago. We just see a sort of, basically our cup is full.
Russia's repeated violations of airspace, whether in Estonia, Poland, or Scandinavian countries like Denmark and Norway, appear to be part of a hybrid pressure tactic. The objective seems to be undermine Western unity and solidarity. How adequate has the reaction been from Europe and United States at this time?
Well, it's getting better. It is getting better since the beginning of the year, after a series of incidents on the Baltic Sea. The NATO initiated its naval operations in the Baltic Sea to now, since the drones in Poland, the air operations are increasing as well. So I mean, we know the West is slow to react. They don't want to react. As you know quite well, I assume you know quite well. I mean, the West doesn't really, Western Europe especially, has not wanted to face reality. I mean, if we go back to 2008. I was warning in 2008 in May that the refusal to give Georgia map would be seen as a green light. Now, I was just considered a warmonger at that time. Well, what happened, 3 months later, Russia invaded. So, but then again, now it's the Georgian government accusing me of being a warmonger. So I guess
it's a curiosity, yeah. We will certainly come back to Russia's 2008 invasion of Georgia, the West's first real test in the region. But before we do, I'd like to ask about Donald Trump's recent strong statement at the UN General Assembly. A journalist asked him, US President, directly whether NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they violate European or NATO airspace again. Trump responded that yes, that is exactly what should happen. And is this the kind of language that Putin understands best?
Well, I think it was a strong signal that President Trump actually, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the general attitude was that he was very soft on Putin. And so I think yesterday's statement was quite a quite a change. And I think that in the Kremlin, they're scratching their heads saying, okay, maybe, there's been a change in U.S. attitudes. We'll see. I mean, we have not seen any further provocations since yesterday. So we'll see if there are more and what the response will be. Now, on the issue of shooting down planes, that is very tricky because rules of engagement that we have here don't really foresee shooting down a plane in this kind of context. So, I mean, the fear, I think, in NATO is that this would be viewed as a major escalation. And there are arguments going on back and forth about why it would be an escalation. Others saying we have to be tough and saying we're not going to take it. And this is a debate that's been going on now for basically 2 days. So I'm not really no one, I think, is in a position to say where we're going to end up with this, but certainly getting a statement from the United States saying that it would have nothing against shooting down these planes, I think, is in itself a signal. The question is, will they test it now?
We've already seen Russia's response. Dmitry Medvedev reacted.
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone takes alcoholics with Korsakoff syndrome, also known colloquially as wet brain, very seriously.
Trump's comment came after a bold statement by Poland's Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski, who also called for Russian aircraft to be shut down. He made this declaration at the UN Security Council, which Estonia had convened for the first time with the Russian ambassador present. Sikorski's message was, in effect, a diplomatic slap in the face to Russia.
I think especially after being backed up by Donald Trump yesterday, I think it's a serious message. It's not simply bluster from one country or another. If the what is in reality the largest military power in Europe today, Poland. I mean, Poland has more main battle tanks than all the rest of Europe combined. So, I mean, they are a major power. Militarily, even though they don't have nuclear weapons, but nonetheless, they are a big power. And so when so-called little Estonia says something, they kind of just sort of brush it off. But when Poland says it, it's viewed more seriously. And when the United States makes the same statement, I think it's a pretty good message for the Kremlin.
Let's listen to Sikorski's remarks and continue the discussion.
To the representatives of Russia, I have this to say. We know you don't care for international law and you are incapable of living in peace with your neighbors. Your insane nationalism contains a lust for domination that will not cease until you realize that the age of empires is over and that your empire will not be rebuilt. Every drone strike by the heroes of the armed forces of Ukraine, may God bless them, brings this day closer. I have only one request to the Russian government. If another missile or aircraft enters our space without permission, deliberately or by mistake, and gets shot down and the wreckage falls on NATO territory, please don't come here to whine about it. You have been warned.
In your view, was Sikorski's position coordinated with NATO partners or the US administration?
Probably not. I mean, because he said it before, actually, NATO had its meeting yesterday on when Estonia invoked Article 4. That was yesterday, Tuesday, and he made that statement Monday night. So I don't think so. I think he was speaking as the deputy foreign minister and the deputy prime minister and the foreign minister of a major NATO power.
Recently, the former commander of Estonia's armed forces, Riho Terras, and now a member of the European Parliament's Defense Committee, visited Israel, where he met with Daniel Gold, the designer of the Iron Dome. How realistic is if for Europe they will develop its own Iron Shield? Could this initiative begin in the Baltic states?
I mean, I think the main problem that we have right now in Europe with high-tech solutions is the inability of companies in Europe to get the kind of investment that's needed for that kind of architecture, and that has more to do with the economic reforms that the EU has to undertake. I mean, it really would be an EU matter, not a NATO matter. I don't know anything about the cost of that and what came out of that, but it's clear that all of especially the countries on the front line, that is Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland, have been dramatically increasing defense expenditures and their readiness to deal with a possible Russian attack.
So, what do you say, Trump's call was justified?
Well, we were doing it before Donald Trump, to be actually honest. We were already at 3.4% of GDP defense expenditures last year. So, in fact, already last year, Estonia was spending more per capita, more of its GDP percentage-wise than the United States. We were number 2, the US was number 3. So no, it has nothing to do with Donald Trump. It has to do with where we are and our perception of what is going on. So we take,
Yes, I'm glad to hear that.
We will be prepared, and we will not let history repeat without a much greater price to be paid by Russia.
Let me ask you again, what is your opinion on the Iron Dome? Do you think Europe will have such a defense system anytime soon?
You know, though I know a lot about tech, I don't know about it. It's more a matter of cost. I mean, if you have enough money, you can do anything.
Let's now turn to another of Trump's bold statements that could potentially change the course of the war. He spoke about restoring Ukraine's territorial integrity and did not rule out NATO involvement in that process. He even referred to Russia as a paper tiger. Let's take a look at this stunning post, which the 47th President of the United States shared on Truth Social. How stable or consistent do you believe Trump's position really is?
That's the question everybody is asking right now. Everybody is asking that question. Well, it's been like 36. I mean, it's been rather 18 hours since he said what he said. We'll see what happens in the next couple of days and weeks. I think everyone is that supports Ukraine is quite delighted with these statements, but we're all waiting to see if this translates into action.
What do you think led to this shift in Trump's stance? Was it Zelensky's smart diplomacy, considering the relationship was quite strained at first, or was it Trump's own disappointment with Putin, as he has claimed?
It's probably a combination of both. I mean, basically, Putin has been really sort of, just telling him lies. And I think at some point, President Trump simply got annoyed at being lied to all the time.
What would Ukraine's victory mean? What would it bring to Europe and global security? Would it reshape the rules-based international order?
Well, for Ukraine, obviously, it would be a major victory. For Europe, it would be well, also what it would do for Ukraine would make eventually joining the European Union somewhat easier because they would have full control of their de jure borders, not simply de facto. For Europe, I mean, that would be a huge victory because basically right now, the sole funding for Ukraine's external funding for Ukraine is coming from Europe. I mean, even their weapons from the US those weapons are bought and paid for by the Europeans. So, I mean, that shows that Europe can get its act together if they manage to succeed. More broadly, if that restores the rules-based international order, too early to tell.
Trump called on European countries to stop buying Russian oil and has also appealed to China and India to do the same. How realistic is it to implement these sanctions on a global scale or in a coordinated international front?
I mean, Slovakia and Hungary still get import oil. It is, however, I mean, given where Europe was and where right now those two countries are, it's such a small percentage. It probably doesn't make much difference. I think it's more of a symbolic thing. And I think that Hungary, especially given its absurd rhetoric, is kind of in a bind with this. We'll see. Now, in terms of oil sanctions,